He thought he'd had an eye on them. But he's now got one filly, two fillies, I think, with in Cape Town.
Okay, now you yourself have been an owner for many, many years. Your first trainer, was it Aubrey Roberts?
My first trainer was Aubrey, and I stayed with Aubrey for as long as he was there as a trainer. Then he became a stipendiary steward. And then I went to David Payne, and I stayed with him as long as I ever could, until he went to Australia. And we had a very happy relationship. And then for a very short while I went to Clodagh Shaw, and unfortunately she gave up training. And I then went to Alistair Gordon.
And you've been with him ever since as well?
Ever since, yes. I don't think it's right to drop trainers. I think it's a silly move, because you should rather change your horses.
Well, it's an admirable quality in an owner, and really hats off to you for that, because there are very few people who think like that. And I think it shows in the long run, because Alistair, I know, is terribly fond of you, and you're probably terribly fond of him, but he's also produced some decent horses. What a Question being one of them. Oh,
absolutely. I think if you give a man of Alistair's experience a good horse, he'll produce a good runner, but often you give him a horse and the horse is useless, and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Absolutely. Well, what we'd like to do is we'd like to show What a Question's probably greatest hour when I know he won a couple of juvenile features, but when he won, he ran second in the Golden Horse at Scottsville. It was a fantastic run.
It was very well ridden by Lloyd that day, I seem to remember.
Yeah.
He didn't give his best, but Lloyd rode a very difficult race on him and came second.
Let's go and pick it up at the start, see the Golden Horse, and this will bring back a few memories, and hopefully good memories for Benji.
Speeds on from the 1200-meter marker. Fanyana missed the break 2 or 3 lengths. What a Question, National Flame and Bullsider right there. Teasers just off them early on, Cornador. Vegas towards the outside, just off them, Man of Power, O Caesar and Greek Warrior. Sterling Bridge, Let's Rock and Roll. Field now gallops to the 800 and Mocha Java now flashes her speed. Mocha Java down the middle. National Flames up the inside of the course. Just off them, Carnador, Ballsider. What a Question's tucked in towards the inside. Teasers just in front of these, O Caesar. Vegas along the extreme outside. The Yellow Silk's got about 5 to go. As they come down to the 400-meter marker now. Mocha Java blitzing a trail by 2 or 3. Ballsider, National Flame, Teaser. What a Question's now in the clear. Got 2.5 lengths to make up. Sterling Bridge trying to come through. Something else, O Caesar. Let's Rock and Roll runs on. What a Question on the outside. Vegas running on. Let's Rock and Roll. What a Question on the outside. Vegas trying to come through. Let's Rock and Roll's hit the front. What a Question's trying to come through, but it's time to rock and roll. Let's Rock and Roll won it. What a Question second. Vega and 4 under par came from nowhere to run fourth.
Well, that was a tremendous run from What a Question, and Lloyd, I see, covered him up, held him up, let him go at the right time. He just got run out of it.
A wonderful rider.
You had a lot of success with him.
Always, and he was so, he's such a real special person. We won a race on July Day here that I remember you commentated, I think, and the horse came 1,900 meters for 2-year-olds. And there was no way the horse in question could stay 1,900. But Lloyd stole the race. He was absolutely brilliant. But there are a lot of other very, very good jockeys, and I've only twice in my life ever blamed a jockey, or thought a jockey wasn't very good at that race. And one was Michael Roberts when he was a child.
Yes.
And he got off this poor filly and said he didn't think he'd done his best, and he won next time. And the other one was Basil Marcus, who got off a horse once and said he didn't think he shone, and he rode it again and won. So,
and they're 2 top riders.
There were 2 were top in the world.
Now, just going back to Aubrey Roberts, I'm interested in your relationship with Aubrey and how you started with him and how you found him. Was it? I know that he rode the Saunders' horses a lot.
I was very friendly with Cyril Buckham.
Yes.
And I went to a sale. I was very busy in Maritzburg, and I nipped into the end of a sale, and they're just about finished. And a girl who used to belong to the Pony Club, where I was the district commissioner or chairman, and she had sold a horse. She tried to sell a horse, And so Cyril said, why don't you lease it? And Aubrey was a friend of his. And so I sent it to Aubrey.
Yeah.
And its name was Brother Ben. And it was absolutely useless. Aubrey said it walked like I did.
He was quite a character, Aubrey.
Oh, he
Roberts,
was wonderful.
He? Yeah.
He had a wonderful eye for a horse. If any string walked past, he would know all the horses' names. I mean, he was incredible.
He actually prided himself on knowing all the horses at Summerfeld, didn't he?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
you couldn't sneak one past him without him knowing.
No, no. No, he was a great chap.
And he was a very good jockey by all accounts as well. In
Very
his day.
good, yes.
Yeah.
He rode the July winner for Bill Lambert's father, I think, didn't he? I think
Yes, he did. Yeah, yeah. I think he might have ridden the July winner. Yeah, for it was maybe the Saunderses as well.
I don't know if he
trained
rode,
the July winner.
I
Was
don't know
it
if he
Deezer?
rode there too.
Was it Deezer? I think Deezer was his July winner, wasn't it?
Deezer was the one for the
Yeah.
the Lamberts, I think so.
Yeah, yeah, he won the July on Deezer, absolutely. And then David Payne, absolute gentleman.
David Payne is a wonderful person. And the joy, of course, being with David, that you always had a top jockey riding your horse. Although there were many occasions when yours was a good horse, but there was a better one. And then, of course, the top jockey rode yours, and then you got the second jockey. But often we had Douglas White or Lloyd on and Shea. That was wonderful because they were, I don't think it makes an enormous difference, but in a problem area, that brilliant expertise definitely counts a half a length or something.
There's no doubt that jockey knowing a horse and having real ability will get the best out of it.
I think so, yes. Yeah. But we've also had winners with young jockeys. We gave Ryan Roberts, Aubrey's son, his first winner.
Okay.
He got off the horse the first run and said to David Payne, Mr. Payne, it was his first ride ever, I think. He said, Mr. Payne, I think this filly needs 1,200 metres. And David Payne said, thank you, Mr. Roberts, for your advice. We'll run it over 1,200 metres. And it won.
And Ryan rode it.
And his mother and his aunt led it in, welcomed by his grandmother.
And Ryan, do you keep in touch with him? I know
no, he's overseas now. He's in Australia.
Yeah.
But he was a lovely boy.
Yeah, then there've been quite a couple of them have moved to Australia, and
they're all
David Payne
there.
being the main one.
Yeah.
Benji, we're going to talk about a couple of other things. Local executive, you were involved in the local executive for
quite a long
some
time.
Yeah. Did you enjoy
I
that?
served under, you remember Mr. Genman?
Yeah.
Basil Genman?
Yeah.
And Jerry Drummond. I think Jerry Drummond was vice chairman for 20 years.
Yeah.
And Basil Genman was chairman for about 30 years. And they changed the rule, you could only be chairman for 5 years. So McGilligan took over for 5 years, and then I took over from him.
Did you enjoy that?
Yes, not very much so.
Found a couple of people in trouble? Did you put a couple of people into a bit of trouble and strife, as they say?
I think we pulled more people out of trouble with advice. I hated...
That's the way it should be, though.
Absolutely, I hated doing anything harsh on people. We took some harsh decisions, but one was able, after the meeting, to talk to people and help guide them. And I remember a long talk with Andrew Fortune, which helped him a lot, I led to believe, and after all, there's no more brilliant horseman than he is.
We're going to move on and talk about the Jockeys Academy, but before we do that, let's just go and take a little break and have a look at what we've got, because we're going to have a few races to be run in England, and then we'll be back.
Right.
Right, well, there's the Magic Millions. Rain Gal and Commander Cat, two runners off the Magic Millions sale. Commander Cat won the first race Craig Zaki has ever won, so that will be good for him. He'll never forget that. We'll be back with Benji. Okay, well, we've now talked about the important parts of your life in racing, but I think probably your passion has been with the Jockeys Academy. You really made a huge difference to that operation. Yes,
I hope that I made a contribution. Of course, Mr. Genman was chairman there for many years, but like everything else, a new broom helps put in a few extra things that weren't there before, employs new staff, and I've had great enjoyment there, and I've worked with some wonderful people, and of course, more spirit, the wonderful children.
Well, what has really touched me, and I think a lot of people have seen it, is how jockeys have come out of their time, and you sit in the parade ring, beautifully dressed as you are, and a number of them come up to you and give you a hug, shake your hand, mention you, say hello to you. I noticed Brandon Lorena the other day. You know, he's a jockey now, and you obviously had quite an influence on some of these boys.
I think with practically all of them, because I understand the homesickness of coming to school at 15 years old. I went through it myself.
Where did you go to boarding school?
To called St Michael House.
Oh, shame.
I think you were there too. Probably you heightened the standards when you were there.
No, I lower the standards.
No, but I've some of those boys you sort of feel. I mean, Brandon now is a married man with 2 children, but he's still, in my eyes, a little boy. And it's sweet, loving that he comes up and gives me a hug. Lots of them do, and they all come and shake hands. I'm very close with a lot of them. Yeah. And I admire them enormously. I think the job of being a professional jockey is a very special career. And when you see the punishment they take through dieting and through the disciplines they are enforced. I mean, the discipline on a race course is much greater than watching rugby. Watching rugby, you see people committing fouls and not being very kind to each other. If that happened in racing, they wouldn't get away with it.
Now, just talking about the academy, you see these guys come in as very young boys, and talk about a couple of the guys that you've seen start and you maybe thought that they weren't any good and have proved you wrong. There must have been guys like that?
There have been, the best feeling I get is the boys that were a bit big and one took a chance on. I mean, I remember when Bernard Faidherbe came in for his interview with his parents, and he'd come from Madagascar, Tiger Wright's grandson. Yes. And I said to his parents, I can't remember, I know his mother was there, whether the father was there also, and I said, I'll see you later, because at the moment it's looking very difficult because he's too big. And after all the interviews had finished, they came in, and I made a financial arrangement that they'd make a contribution. And because of he's such a lovely boy and such a background, we took him. And I get enormous satisfaction that he's done so well. And of course we took Robert in too, and he was too big. But I get satisfaction that he's doing so well as Mr. Bass's, as one of Mr. Bass's assistants.
Yeah, he's doing a wonderful job.
And there are so many of them that have done well. I remember Richard Fourie begged me not to allow the headmaster to send him to Cape Town. And I said, it's not my duty, it's the headmaster where you go. I don't interfere. And then I went to Cape Town and he begged me to bring him back. And I said, one day something will come right for you. And he's had a brilliant career.
Good rider.
Very good rider, but there are so many of them. I remember M.J. Bailefeld when he came, little Afrikaans boy, nervous, and his grandparents, lovely couple, asked if they could caravan at the academy for this first week to look after him. They were lovely people, and he's turned out as a top-class man.
Did you allow them to?
Did I?
Did you allow them to stay in the caravan?
Absolutely, yeah.
So just so he could settle in?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything to help the children.
And Benji, as you say, it's like boarding school, but very much more severe, because most of them come in not knowing anything about riding or about horses.
Most of them have never touched a horse. And it's the most incredible thing. If we could get people up to the academy when the children have been there for 4 weeks or 5 weeks and watch them galloping thoroughbreds around that arena, nobody who rides would ever believe it possible. You know, when one sends a child to riding lessons, they walk, trot, and maybe canter after a couple of months. These children are very brave. Some drop out, of course, because